For the most part, my life was exactly where I wanted it to be. At 27, I had landed a stable job at a respected marketing firm in the city. I wasn't rich, but I was doing well. I had a good team, a decent boss, or so I thought, and I was climbing the ladder slowly but surely. Most mornings, I actually looked forward to going to work. That alone made me feel lucky. But my real source of happiness wasn't the job. It was Lucas. Lucas and I had been together for just over 3 years. We met through a mutual friend at a quiet dinner party, and from that night on, something just clicked. He had this calming presence about him, like no matter how chaotic the world felt, Lucas could make everything feel right. He worked as a freelance illustrator, often from home, which meant he was always there when I needed someone to talk to. Or when I needed silence. He understood both. We kept our relationship low-key. Not because we were ashamed, but because the world wasn't always kind, especially in corporate spaces where the culture felt tight-lipped, at best. I wasn't out at work. I told myself it was for privacy, professionalism, whatever excuse helped me sleep at night. But deep down, I knew it was fear. Fear of being judged. Fear of being seen differently. Lucas never pressured me. He gave me space to handle things my own way, even when it was hard on him. I remember once, during a company party, he offered to drop me off but stayed in the car so no one would ask questions. I hated that moment. Not because of him, but because I allowed it. Still, he smiled, kissed my hand gently, and told me to have a good time. That's just who he was. On the surface, things were running smoothly. We had a rhythm, weekday routines, lazy Sundays, coffee runs that turned into mini road trips. I genuinely believed we were building something real, something permanent. That night started out like any other. I got home a little after 6, tired but content. Lucas was sketching at the kitchen table, earbuds in, completely zoned into his latest project. I kissed the top of his head, dropped my bag, and changed into something more comfortable. Just as we were deciding what to eat for dinner, my phone buzzed. It was my boss, Jonathan. I hesitated before answering. He rarely called after hours, emails, yes, but never phone calls. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "Hey, sorry to bother you after work," he said quickly, his tone oddly sharp. "I need to talk. It's important. Can you swing by my place tonight? Shouldn't take long." Something in his voice didn't sit right with me. I looked over at Lucas, who raised an eyebrow. I told him it was work. He nodded. But as I grabbed my keys, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I couldn't get Jonathan's tone out of my head. It wasn't just that he called after hours, it was how he said it. Fast, clipped, like he was trying to sound casual, but couldn't quite hide the urgency underneath. And then there was the location. His house. Not the office? That alone made my stomach twist. "Do you think it's serious?" Lucas asked as I tied my shoelaces. I shrugged, pretending it was no big deal. Maybe something about the presentation I gave this week. Or some urgent campaign change. Lucas gave me a look, the kind that saw right through me. "Just be careful. And be honest, okay? If it doesn't feel right, leave." That was Lucas for you. Always trusting me to do the right thing, even when I wasn't sure I could. Jonathan lived about 25 minutes away, in a sleek condo building that screamed money, and no time for real furniture. The lobby smelled like lemon-scented ambition. When I got to his floor, I felt like I was walking into something I couldn't quite name yet. The hallway was too quiet. The air felt too still. He opened the door before I knocked. "Hey," he said too brightly. "Come in." I stepped inside and immediately, everything felt wrong. He was in jeans and a t-shirt, far from his usual office attire. Jazz music was playing softly in the background, and a half-empty glass of wine sat on the kitchen counter. I hadn't even taken my coat off before he handed me a drink. "I didn't come here to drink," I said, forcing a polite smile. Of course," he said, brushing it off. "I just thought you deserved to relax. You've been killing it lately." He started talking about my recent campaign results, how impressed he was with my leadership, how much potential I had. On the surface, it was all compliments, but something about his tone felt deliberate. Like he wasn't just praising my work, he was testing my boundaries. He moved closer with every word, Too close, standing in that gray area between friendly and something else. I stepped back, trying to laugh it off, trying not to make it awkward. But he didn't stop. "You know," he said, voice lower now, "I've always had a soft spot for you." That was the moment I felt the shift. The praise turned into something else, something laced with intention. "I think I should go," I said quickly, setting the untouched drink down. He grabbed my wrist, not hard, but enough to stop me. "I brought you here because I trust you. Don't make this complicated," he said softly. I pulled away, heart pounding. "I'm leaving." I didn't wait for a response. I walked straight out the door, down the elevator, and into the parking lot, hands shaking. I didn't know what just happened, but I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't about work. I thought walking out would be the end of it, that I could slam the door on whatever strange, inappropriate moment that had just happened and move on with my life. But I was wrong, so wrong. I barely made it to my car before my phone buzzed again. It was a text from Jonathan. "You misunderstood. But walking away like that? That's not smart." I didn't reply. I couldn't. My hands were still shaking. My thoughts were running a marathon in my head. How did this even happen? How could someone I worked with for 2 years, someone I respected, try something so calculated? I drove home in silence. No music. No calls. Nothing but the sound of my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. I didn't know what I'd say to Lucas. I wasn't even sure I could say anything. Not yet. When I walked through the door, Lucas was in the kitchen, humming to himself while finishing up dinner. I kissed him softly, mumbled something about a stressful work conversation, and disappeared into the shower. I didn't lie, I just didn't tell the whole truth. Not because I wanted to keep secrets, but because I didn't know what this even was yet. I thought maybe, just maybe, Jonathan would drop it. Chalk it up to a bad moment, an awkward lapse in judgment. But again, I was wrong. The next morning, I opened my work email to find nothing unusual. But then came another message. Not from Jonathan. No name, no number, just a generic, blocked email address. The subject line read, "You sure you want to walk away?" My stomach dropped. Attached were 3 photos, grainy, dark, but clearly taken from hidden angles inside Jonathan's living room. One showed me standing, coat in hand. Another caught the moment he stepped too close. And the third, it looked like I was leaning toward him, even though I remembered backing away. Framed just right to twist the story. I felt cold. Not scared, trapped. This wasn't just a moment anymore. It was a setup. I stared at the screen, pulse racing. He must have had cameras running. Or maybe someone else was watching. Either way, it was no accident. Jonathan wanted leverage. And now he had it. I knew what this was. A power move. If I spoke out, he could twist it. Say, I came onto him. Use the photos to destroy my reputation. Maybe even cost me my job. I told myself I needed time. Just a few days to figure things out, to breathe, to think clearly. So I said nothing to Lucas. I smiled. I laughed. I went through the motions, pretending everything was fine. But at night, when he slept soundly beside me, I stared at the ceiling wondering how long I could keep the secret. And what it would cost me when it finally came out. The days that followed felt like walking through fog. I went to work, kept my head down, avoided Jonathan at all costs, and tried to act like nothing had happened. But inside, I was spiraling. I couldn't sleep. My appetite vanished. Every time my phone buzzed, I flinched, half expecting another threat or twisted photo. And through it all, Lucas remained patient. Loving. Unaware. But he wasn't stupid. "Is everything okay with work?" he asked one night while we ate dinner in near silence. "You've been off." I smiled weakly, poking at my food. "Yeah, just a lot going on. Tight deadlines, you know how it is." He didn't push. He just nodded, but I could see the worry in his eyes. The same eyes that had always looked at me with trust and warmth. And now, I couldn't even meet them for long without feeling like a coward. The emotional weight of keeping the truth from him was crushing. But how could I explain it? How do you tell the person you love that someone tried to blackmail you? And worse, that you're not sure anyone would believe you over someone like Jonathan? so I kept pretending. I stayed busy, came home late, and when Lucas reached for me, I gently pulled away. One night, I fell asleep on the couch with my phone still in my hand. I woke up to silence. No TV. No lights. Just Lucas standing a few feet away, staring at the screen of my phone. The message thread was open. The photos, those photos, right there for him to see. "Who sent you this?" he asked, voice low and tight. I sat up fast, panic rising in my throat. "Lucas, I can explain." "Explain what?" he snapped, stepping back like I'd just hit him. "You told me it was a meeting. You lied. You've been lying ever since." "I didn't cheat on you," I said, heart racing. "I swear to you I didn't." "It's not what it looks like." He let out a bitter laugh. "Oh, the classic line. Do you hear yourself right now?" "It was a setup," I said. "My boss, he crossed a line. I left. I didn't touch him. He's using these to make it look like something it wasn't." But I could see it in his eyes. He didn't believe me. Or maybe he couldn't. The trust we'd built, carefully, patiently, over 3 years, it crumbled in that moment. "I don't know what's worse," he whispered. "That this happened, or that you didn't trust me enough to tell me." He walked out without another word. And just like that, the two things I feared most had collided, losing my job and losing him. Only now, I wasn't just scared. I was alone. The days after Lucas left were the darkest I'd ever known. The apartment felt colder without him. His coffee mug stayed untouched in the sink. The quiet was deafening. I stopped sleeping. I barely worked. My inbox overflowed. My energy was gone, and the weight of the secret I'd carried crushed what little was left of me. I knew I couldn't go on like this. I had nothing else to lose. Lucas was gone. My job was hanging by a thread. My dignity had already been stripped away. So one morning I walked into the HR office and asked for a private meeting. I remember my hands trembling as I spoke. I told them everything. Not just about Jonathan's advance, but the blackmail, the photos, the threats. I didn't sugarcoat anything. For the first time since that night, I let the truth spill out without holding back. The HR officer, a woman named Karen, listened quietly. Her expression never changed, neutral, unreadable. When I finished, she sat back and took a deep breath. "You're not the first person to come to us about Jonathan," she said. Those words hit like a punch to the chest. "Wait, what?" "We've had concerns raised in the past," she continued. "But no one ever had proof. No one ever followed through. Until now." I stared at her, speechless. "We're launching a full internal investigation," she said. "Effective immediately, Jonathan is being suspended pending the outcome. Thank you for coming forward." I walked out of that office with a strange mix of emotions: relief, fear, disbelief. I hadn't imagined it. I wasn't crazy. And most of all, I wasn't alone. The next few days were surreal. Jonathan didn't show up to work. The whispers started spreading around the office, vague and cautious, but I stayed quiet. I wasn't seeking revenge. I just wanted peace. Justice, maybe. But even with the weight of that secret lifted, one thing remained painfully unresolved: Lucas. I hadn't heard from him since the night he left. Not a text. Not a call. Nothing. So I tried. I wrote him a message, pouring my heart out. I told him everything, again, but this time from the beginning. Every emotion, every choice, every fear that led me to lie. I admitted my flaws. I didn't ask for forgiveness. I just wanted him to know the truth. I hit send and stared at the screen for hours. No response. Still, I didn't regret telling him. He deserved the truth, even if he never spoke to me again. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. The nightmare wasn't over, but I had taken the first real step to reclaim my life. And somewhere in the silence, I held on to one small hope: that the person who once loved me might, someday, believe me again. Time has a strange way of stretching and shrinking, depending on what you're waiting for. The months that followed the investigation were long, quiet, filled with uncomfortable healing. Jonathan was officially let go after multiple testimonies confirmed a pattern of misconduct. His name disappeared from the company site. A brief internal memo thanked him for his service, corporate code for sweeping things under the rug with dignity. But those of us who knew the truth felt something like justice. I stayed. HR encouraged it, and in a surprising twist, I was offered a promotion, team lead for a new creative division. It felt strange accepting the role, knowing what I'd endured to earn it. But I did. Not out of ambition, but because I wasn't going to let someone else's abuse define my career. Still, even with the professional win, there was an ache that wouldn't go away. Lucas. I hadn't heard from him in nearly 4 months. Not since the night he walked out with tears in his eyes and heartbreak written all over his face. I thought about him every day, wrote messages I never sent, held onto hope with one hand, and tried to live with the other. Then one chilly Friday evening in November, he showed up. I opened the door, and there he was, same coat, same quiet presence, but his eyes were softer now. Not angry, just tired. I ran into someone from your office, he said, barely above a whisper. They told me the truth. I stepped aside, letting him in without saying a word. We sat on the couch, not touching, just sitting in the quiet we used to share so comfortably. I'm sorry, I finally said. You were protecting yourself, he replied. And maybe protecting me too. I should have told you everything. Trusted you. He nodded slowly. You should have. But I should have trusted you enough to ask the right questions instead of assuming the worst. We didn't pretend everything could be fixed in a night. Some wounds run deeper than apologies. But he took my hand, gently, and held it. I still love you, he said. That never changed. I squeezed his fingers, afraid to let go. So, what now? We take it slow, he said. No promises. Just honesty. And time. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. There were no grand declarations, no sweeping gestures. Just two people trying to find their way back to something real. And that was enough for now. Later that night, as I stood by the window watching the city breathe beneath the stars, I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the silence, the pain. It didn't come from the person I loved. It came from someone I trusted to lead me, guide me, mentor me. Not all betrayals come from lovers. Sometimes they come from the people above you. And healing? Healing comes when you choose not to let their darkness bury your light.